My 27M wife, 28F, returned from a work retreat with a hickey. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I'm at loss. How do I move forward? I'm 27M, in a fight with my wife, 28F. We've had fights before, but not this bad. I'm at a loss on how to proceed. For context, we're college sweethearts married for almost 6 years. We have a daughter, 4F. Our relationship was never perfect or without challenges. We've faced some family opposition with cultural differences, but we've made it work. She's my first love and my best friend. My wife works in corporate. Her job is annual work retreats that last for about a week. This year was in Vegas. I usually arrange my work schedule and tag along with her, and we make our own trip out of it. We couldn't this year. Our daughter gets major anxiety traveling long distances. We're working on it, but she wasn't budging, and we decided to choose our battles. So I stood behind and held down the fort at home. The change of plans was a bummer because the trip was part of us reconnecting as both a couple and as a family. My wife's work hours have taken a toll, and her work/life balance leaves much to be desired. We entertained the idea of her skipping the retreat. Attendance is optional, but it's generally frowned upon if you don't, and my wife's making connections in her field. She grew increasingly weird. We have a system if either of us is away for extended periods. We keep in contact. For the first day or so, she was herself, but she grew distant. I'd even text her about important stuff and be left on read while she claimed she never saw my text. Whenever we talked, she was rushing me or our daughter off the phone. These were all times she wasn't involved in retreat activities. We were supposed to have a mini birthday celebration for our daughter over FaceTime. Our daughter was excited. It was something my wife promised her because the retreat overlapped her actual birthday. But my wife backed out because she had people up to her room after a seminar. It was like she wanted my permission to break her promise to our daughter. I told her I wasn't offering that nor making her keep her word. She said I wasn't being fair, and this was a networking opportunity. They were business oriented and wouldn't understand her stepping away for family time. I said her decision is her decision, but she'd have to explain it to our daughter. She promised her that she'd rain check the following day. Our daughter didn't understand and cried. My wife ended up hanging up and leaving me to comfort our daughter alone. That whole incident rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. She didn't keep her word for the rain check either. She was documenting the retreat on social media. One coworker, 23M, was almost in every pic/video attached to her hip. In one pic he had his arm too comfortably around her emo. He's a recent hire in my wife's department. She was asked to oversee him. I don't like the guy. He doesn't know boundaries. Once, in response to a work assignment, he texted my wife that she's exactly the kind of woman he needs to keep him in check. My wife had brushed it off. She feels bad for him because he's not fitting in. She took him under her wing during his first retreat with the team. If I'd questioned, she'd say she was tired or networking. There was always something. But I've seen her at these retreats. This wasn't like her. She was just off. The day before her return home, she complained about a bruise on her neck. She stressed it was a bug bite. I didn't actually see the bruise until she came home. I instantly thought it was a full-on hickey. She kinda brushed it off after making a big deal of it over the phone. I didn't push because our daughter was present. But when I was able to confront her, she clung to her bug bite claim. When I kept pushing, she asked what I was trying to imply. I outright said I believed she had a hickey, and I didn't believe she was being honest with me. We had it out then. She was offended and pissed at the accusation. Infidelity has always been a sore topic. Her family has a history of infidelity. So we had a pretty bad fight, and she accused me of looking to pick a fight due to the incident with our daughter's birthday. I told her it had nothing to do with that and everything to do with a hickey on her neck. The fight ended in an impasse. We're still not recovered. She swears it's a bug bite. But I'm not convinced. I've always trusted my wife. I never doubted her, but this bruise doesn't look like a bug bite. It looks like a hickey. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the Vegas retreat. Now she's wearing turtlenecks ever since, and we're caught between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. Communication usually prevails for us, but not now. I think my accusation pushed us to a new level of argument. I'm at a loss here. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? TLDR, my wife returned from a work retreat in Vegas with a hickey on her neck. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the retreat. We're stuck between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. I'm at a loss. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? I have been to Vegas and never saw a single bug. It is like dry as fuck, desert-like. Not saying they aren't there, but it's not like she was in the Mayan Riviera. This is all super Seuss. Don't let her gaslight you. She clearly got a hickey, which is dumb as fuck in itself, probably from the idiot who is too inexperienced to know what he was doing, and preemptively came up with an excuse knowing what it would look like. Out of character behavior. Neglecting her daughter. New young guy hanging off her, that is in photos she knew you could end up seeing, what about what you couldn't see? Eyebrow raising texts. Something fishy here for sure. I couldn't imagine bailing on my daughter's birthday for networking, then the hickey and the preemptive explanation that it wasn't one. I don't know, something doesn't add up here. I was just in Vegas for work last week. It was cold when we were there. No bugs anywhere, much less something that would leave a mark like that just on her neck. At the very least you need to work through her distance at the retreat. I couldn't move forward without significant transparency with her phone. If she refuses, it's a big red flag. I would never have people in my room to hang out or network. At my level, it brings too much risk. Someone not invited or there could claim future favoritism or preferential treatment of those that were, false allegations, etc. It just doesn't ever make sense to have people in your hotel suite on a work trip. This is a boundary I think she crossed both professionally and in her marriage. I would have never gone on an optional work trip that overlapped with my child's birthday. Nothing will ever shift the work-life balance to make that decision. If anyone at work gave me crap, I'd be talking about setting good examples and improving the culture while looking for a new job elsewhere. I think every person, even single, would understand her stepping away for family time. That's a BS reason. She needs to be honest with herself that 1, she's not that important to her workmates, and 2, she was selfish and she made a bad decision that her daughter will remember. It would have taken at max 30 minutes? If she had time to document her trip on social media, she had time for her daughter. We don't make promises in our household. We just say our yes is our yes and no is no. We don't have to make promises on top of that. It's important to our family values that we model behavior for our kids of being people who honor our words. She is overstepping boundaries by letting a younger male hire who she manages to physically touch her. Point blank. Especially if he has messaged her outside of work hours things that are borderline, even more so she should have been setting boundaries so far back this guy couldn't even see the red line. It isn't unbelievable or totally out of line for you to question the mark when she isn't upholding boundaries that would keep your trust and marriage safe. Especially when her communication changed and she became distant. Tell her you aren't stupid, and you aren't insecure, that there are too many things piecing together. For me, I would continue to confront. I would look her plainly and ask, was it worth it? Say nothing else and see her reaction. I would need to see her email HR documenting that on the trip her subordinate put his arm around her and has messaged her things that are borderline suggestive. That she explained she just wants to document this as his manager and have a paper trail if it continues to escalate. If she is unwilling to send this to HR, I would move towards separation. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I've never gotten a bug bite that looked like a hickey. Did she show you her phone or provide any proof that could support her innocence or just dismiss you? The extra affection is a common move from guilt-ridden cheaters. Even if we stretch the imagination and believe it is a big bite, she wasn't acting trustworthy, nor was she a good mother while that was in Vegas, and she needs to address and correct that. She is definitely acting sus, that's for sure. Blurting out the bug bite before coming home so you wouldn't think otherwise. Or maybe this is the overthinker in me, but trust your gut. Distant over the trip, her coworker sent an incredibly inappropriate message that anyone with a brain would see as flirting. Backed out of a planned birthday call with your daughter because she had people in her room after work, and coworker was clearly spending time with her thanks to the posts, and she comes home with bug bites the size of hickeys, and now she's dousing you all in love and affection, which is pretty out of character, probably due to guilt. Your wife is full of shit, and honestly, even if her extremely unlikely story about the bug bite is true, the rest of her behavior is enough to justify contacting a divorce lawyer. I'm sorry my friend, but in your head you already have the answer and you know what's going on. The love bombing is her guilt. As is trying to make you feel guilty for being worried or asking questions. It's possible, perhaps even probable, that she isn't going to ever admit what happened on her trip. You have a big decision to make, but trust your intuition. Turtlenecks and love bombing? That seems suspicious, for sure. You said that you have pretty good communication. So why don't you lay it all out for her, like you did here? You noticed she was not communicative during the trip. She missed your daughter's b-day, which is a big deal and was upsetting for your kid. You noticed the young coworker in a lot of her photos and they seemed cozy and familiar. Now that you see the bug bite she forewarned you about, it leads you to believe something inappropriate happened. Ultimately, I think you need to decide what it is you need. This is going to be the time for boundaries. Do you want to stay with her? If so, what needs to happen so that you can have confidence in your relationship? I've been in Vegas about 15 years now. Nothing has ever left a hickey on me except a human being. Abrisina. The answers will be in her phone, you don't even need to see it. Just her answer if you ask to see it will tell you volumes. Recommend /r/surviving infidelity and /r/support for betrayed for more support. If she eventually confesses and you decide to reconcile, check out /r/a Sony after infidelity. Recommend an STD test and a divorce lawyer consult.